We're joined now by Democratic Congressman Anthony Weiner of New York. We were to talk about health care reform in this country, and we will touch on this subject in a moment, but I think it would be necessary to get your insights on this. First, you've been there, you know this place, and you have spoken to the Secretary of State in the last few hours?
She's on her way back. She was on a trip going to Australia for a conference. You know, you can't imagine, you know, in Haiti they've had nothing but bad luck. Successive floods a year and a half ago, a completely deforested economy, not because they're insensitive to the environment, but because people really need to cut the wood up in order to live. They've had a terrible situation there. It's so bad there today that even Proval, the president, has no place to live. Cell phone batteries are starting to die, and there's no infrastructure. It is unspeakably unfortunate what's going on there, and hopefully this is a moment where we get a little bit of context. The hotel I stayed in March with some colleagues, the Hotel Montana, has been leveled, and it is believed that anyone who was staying there might not have survived. We're all scrambling in a bipartisan way in Washington. Before I left and flew back to New York, Democrats and Republicans alike were huddling trying to figure out what it is that we can do. And we are a great country, and it's moments like this that we have to bring to bear all of the forces that we have to try to help these people out.
At some point, does that become instituting or supplying some sense of support for the societal structure, which has clearly been metaphorically shaken as much as the ground has?
Well, frankly, there's very little infrastructure on which to build infrastructure now. Quite literally, they're having conversations about whether to bring in all of the aid to this country through a neighboring country and driving it through the Dominican Republic, through Hispaniola. And that is how bad it is. It is so bad that our primary organ of relief there, the United Nations, is saying they can't get in touch with any of their workers, not a single one, and they're fearful that they all might have been lost. So we're really starting, never mind nation building, this is just society building at this point under the worst circumstances. So any help your viewers can give would obviously be helpful.
Yes, when the United Nations reports that it's got, I believe the number was at least 14 of its delegation there confirmed dead. That is a horrible time, not just for them obviously, but a horrible starting point in terms of relief and an attempt to reestablish order. We'll continue with Congressman Weiner right after this.
Before they're entering the hospital emergency room. But that's the debate we're having in Washington, and as pitched and angry as it sometimes gets, you know, the images like the ones that you just had on the screen of people literally, you know, sitting and lying on the streets of Port-au-Prince make us realize that to some degree our differences aren't that great, but we do need to figure out a way to provide for everyone.
Yeah, it is perspective, and if that's the only positive to it, that's something that needs to be underscored. Congressman Weiner, Anthony Weiner of New York, thanks for coming in and for your perspective on